Hi, welcome and thanks for using Caboose Fresh. You've probably seen a few of our videos by now because this is the second wave of dishes that we're bringing onto the menu. But if not, I'll explain a little bit about the concept. So you'll receive a bag just like this with all your ingredients in. Everything's weighed out. You don't need to worry about getting the ingredients to the right measures. It's all done for you. My name's Mark, and we've got Dan here as well. Dan's going to talk me through, I'm the novice here. Dan's going to talk me through how to cook this dish. Now, I've also got my SOP or recipe here. So I've read through that. Got a little bit of prep work on there that you do in advance. As you can see, it's already here. I've done all that. So the next step is just getting on with cooking it, and Dan will talk us through it. So the dish we're going to do today is a beef bourguignon. And Dan's going to tell us a little bit more about that dish before we get cracking. So Dan, you want to explain it to us?
Yeah, it's just basically a beef stew. It's just an old French beef stew. It's used with like cheap cuts of beef, pancetta, mushrooms, silver skin onions, and it's cooked majority of it's red wine. Instead of like over here, you get a steak and ale pie, or like a beef stew over here tend to have ale in, but this has got a load of red wine in.
Okay, right. And we've got the supervisor here, little mini chef.
You put me right off
to make sure Dan's right. You going to help me? Okay, right, mate. I'm set up here. My pan's already hot. My oven's on. My prep's here. Let's get on with it.
Right. Okay. Well, you've got the pan's already hot, so you're going to start off by frying the pancetta in the oil. So just make sure it's not too hot because it'll splash you, and you need to render the fat off the pancetta. So let it get a good bit of colour on it, and just let the fat melt.
Just a splash of vegetable oil, yeah?
Yeah, just enough so it doesn't stick to the bottom.
And then just chop the whole lot in.
Yeah, just chuck the whole lot in and just let it go nice and crispy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You need to fry that off. Just keep it stirring a little bit, but let it get some good colour on it. And the fat that you rendered off that, the idea is you're going to lift all the pancetta out of there, and then you'll be added. Then the oil that's off that pancetta, the fat, will be left in the pan. And that's what you're going to fry the beef in. Then you'll fry all the vegetables in there as well, and the pancetta will be added back to it after. So if it's dark, if it's golden brown, it should take a couple of minutes. What you can do is you can take the flour and you can coat the beef in the flour now if you like.
Okay. So,
or even just have them in the same tub ready, just so you can chuck it all in, you know.
So just chuck all the flour on top and give it a mix?
Yeah, you can do and you might need a bigger bowl, but just do what you can with it. It's all going to mix in the pan anyway. And you need a little pinch of salt on there as well, Mark.
Okay. I notice in all the recipes, even in any cookbook or anything like that, everything's a pinch of salt. Why is everything measured? Why is every other ingredient measured like accurately, but then everything's a pinch of salt?
And grams and stuff. Well, that's just it's because it's salt different with salt. You know, people, you might not like salt. You might like a little bit more salt. You know, it totally varies. But everything else is quite accurate. It's the same with pastry. Everything's got to be perfect. You know. But with seasoning wise, I over season everything in this house as well. Like, I always get told off for it. You know, I'm too heavy with the salt. Right, if that's golden brown now, you'll be able to take it off.
I wouldn't say it's golden brown yet.
Is the heat quite high, is it?
It is high.
I would just keep it high and let it go nice and golden brown. As long as you've rendered the fat a little bit, it's going to go back in there. So once the fat's rendered, you can lift it out with a slotted spoon and just keep the oil inside there, inside the pan. Just lift it onto a plate or something like that, or a bowl. It doesn't really matter.
Does it matter if a little bit of it stays in the pan?
No, not really. I mean, as long as you just get a bit of it out, because you just need to fry the beef evenly. That's all. So even if a couple of bits stay in, it doesn't matter. You're going to put it back in there anyway, so it's not such a problem.
See, that's one of the things. If I was reading the recipe book, I would get myself in a flap about that. Like every little bit of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd be doing the same. I wouldn't worry.
But it's helpful though for somebody to tell you it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Right, then you can just chuck the beef straight in. And then just don't stir it too much. The idea is to let it colour on the bottom. So just make sure it's flat on the bottom of the pan and just give it a minute to colour. And it doesn't matter anyway. It's going to braise, so it's going to all cook evenly anyway, you know. And you've got an oven cloth behind you there. You might want to grab a hold of that just so you can hold the side of the pan while you're stirring it.
Right. So flatten it all off.
Yeah. Once it's fried, just give it a minute to fry. And then what you're going to do, you're just basically you're going to add in all the vegetables. You're going to add the mushrooms, the shallots, the silver skin onions, sorry, the carrots. You're going to add all that into there with the tomato puree, and you're going to fry that off. So you can even add that in now. I mean, ideally, you'll let that brown off for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, okay.
But for the sake of the video, I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's going to come out braised anyway. So you can just chuck them in now.
Right, do you want me to stir it first so that it's...
Yeah, you can do I. Just give it a stir and then just chuck the rest of the stuff in. But like I say, if you're doing it at home and there's no rush, then you can take your time colouring it and fry it for quite a while, you know.
What's the point of the flour?
And the flour is just basically to thicken it. So when that comes out at the end, like it's instead of thickening something with gravy, for example, like you might at home, you put the flour in, fry the flour off. That gives it a little bit of body. So when it comes out the oven later on, it's a bit thicker. So it's not just like a soup, you know.
Right, so I'm chucking everything in, yeah?
Yeah, just go for it, aye.
Carrots.
Yeah, and it's on a high heat, right?
You what?
You've got it on a nice high heat.
Yeah, it's definitely high.
Right, okay, perfect. I just chuck everything in.
Silver skin onions.
Yeah, they can go straight in.
Mushrooms.
Yeah, and mushrooms can go in. And then you've got 2 cloves of chopped garlic there. They can go in. And then you need the chopped thyme and the tomato puree to go in there as well. Don't put the parsley in though. You're going to finish it with the parsley right at the end in about 4 hours' time. That's it then. And once all that's in, just give it a stir so it doesn't burn.
I've still got the Worcester sauce and red wine.
Yeah, exactly. So all you want to do now is add the vegetables because you need to sweat it all down a little bit. Even if you sweat it down for a minute or so, you know, that's all you need because it's going to braise in there for 4 hours. All the flavour.
The details of that.
You can't edit that out.
Not a real kitchen if it's not got a bun detail.
I know. It was when we first shifted Caboose that happened, do you remember?
Pirate flag.
Yeah, stayed in the kitchen for a few months. Right, okay, once that's sweated off and it's got a bit of colour on it, then that's when you can add the Worcester sauce and red wine and boil that down for a bit. And like I say, ideally at home, you can let that fry for a bit and keep coming back to it and just let it fry slowly. For the sake of the video, you can just chuck it on and it's going to come out the same anyway in the end. But it's always nice to get a bit of flavour and a bit of, like, to sweat it off, you know?
When you say sweat it off, what does that mean?
It's just like if you were to run and go and start sweating, it's exactly the same thing. You're just cooking it and getting the heat out of it. It's releasing the moisture from it, you know, and it's releasing the natural flavour from it, like a caramelisation. If you caramelise an onion, it takes away the water content to release the natural sugars. Then it starts to turn to a caramel. It's like a natural caramel. And it's always better to get a good flavour like that. But in a stew, like I say, it's going to sit in the oven for 4 hours, so it's going to be a similar flavour anyway, you know.
Okay. Well, it is actually nice and coloured already because this is boiling up.
Watch your fingers. Right, okay, well, if that's nice and hot, you can just chuck the Worcester sauce in and chuck the red wine in.
This is the little packs that everything will come in. So like I said, they're all pre-measured out, so it's just a case of cutting the pack open and chucking it straight in.
Right, so that you just chuck that straight in, and the flour should absorb that straight away, and it'll pretty much disappear. But the red wine, you need to just boil it for a minute or so just to release the alcohol content. Right, once that's come to the boil, just add a bit of water, and then you need to bring it to the boil again with the lid on. So you just need to pretty much cover it an inch over the top with the water.
Boiling water?
Yeah, ideally, I mean, but if you haven't boiled the kettle, it won't really matter. But I ideally boil in water just so it comes up quicker, the temperature.
Kettle's a little bit hot anyway. There's quite a bit of fluid in there already, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So you just need to cover it over because obviously it'll evaporate a little bit when you've got a little bit of a hole in there. And you put the lid on just sideways a little bit, like it says in the SOP, or you use the tin foil. As long as you've got a little gap for the steam to escape, it will reduce a little bit in the oven. So there won't be as much liquid. It might look like a lot when you put it in the oven, but it won't be too much when you bring it out.
What about the pancetta? When does that go back in?
You can chuck that in now, as long as it goes back in before it goes in the oven. So then it'll say on the SOP as well, once this is in the oven, when you've got so it goes in the oven for 4 hours, right? So I would set a timer for 3 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah. And when you've got 40 minutes left of cooking, that's when you want to start boiling the potatoes for the mash. That won't be on this video. We'll come back to the video, obviously, when the potatoes are ready to go.
You're making a big assumption that I know how to make mash, mate.
I know, you just need to peel and chop the potatoes and bring them to the boil with a bit of salt in. That's all in the SOP as well. Yeah. And then as well, 10 minutes before, or well, 15 minutes before the timer's due to go up, we'll put the garlic in the oven as well to roast. So then the garlic will come out of the oven, the stew will come out of the oven, and the potatoes will be ready to mash. But we can get back to that when the video starts again. It's all in the SOP.
Right. I'll get some water in there then again. Yeah. So how much then, just to make sure everything's covered?
Yeah, I mean, from what you've got there in the pan, I would go a little bit more. We'll go a bit more. Just keep going. Yeah. And that should be, that should do. I just give it a stir, and then I'll see how much is in there. Yeah, it looks about right. It looks about right from here. That aye.
All right.
Yeah, it looks about right from here.
What's next?
So you need a lid on it. Or if you haven't got a lid, you can use some tin foil, but you need to just put it on loosely.
I've got a lid, but it can't go in the oven. So can I just use tin foil then?
Yeah, just use tin foil as long as there's a little gap for the steam to escape. Because if you leave that on too tight, then the steam will rise. The water will just drop back into the pan. It'll just dilute the flavour. So you can have that on quite tight, but you've just got to prick a hole in the middle so the steam can come out, you know. And if it's a fan-assisted oven, that's just going to blow the tin foil straight off.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Okay.
Right, so I've got that on. There's a little gap either side.
Yeah, that's fine. Right. And then you just need to whack that in the oven, and that'll go in the oven for 4 hours. But like I say, set your timer for 3 hours and 20 minutes. And then we'll come back to it. Then you start to boil the potatoes, walk away from it again, and then you can come back and finish that off.
So just into the centre of the oven, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, aye. It's a nice oven glove.
Three hours, 20 minutes.
3 hours and 20 minutes. So what you can do now, when you knock the video off or whatever, you can just peel the potatoes, chop them up to like a golf ball size, like it says in the SOP, sit them in the pan with cold water, and then in 3 hours and 20 minutes, when your timer goes off, come in, turn that on, and add some salt to that water.
Right, okay, well, we're all in. I think we get the important bit out now, which is probably a bottle of beer and a sit down. Right, okay, so once that's 3 hours 20, I'll get the spuds on. We'll get them boiled. I'll just set them aside once they've done, and then you'll show us how to do the rest, yeah?
Yeah, so you want to just peel and chop them now, but you don't have to have, you know, people will be able to do that. It's just chop them about the size of a golf ball, so they're all the same size. Sit them in a pan with cold water, and then when the timer goes off, come back and turn that on, and then you can walk away from that for another 40 minutes, you know?
Okay.
And you've also got the garlic to go in the oven as well, but like I say, it's all on the SOP.
Right, no problem. Okay, right, well, we'll see you when it comes out the oven then.
Aye.
Cheers. Okay, so we're back. It's been just about 4 hours really. Stuff's still in the oven. I've got the spuds on. Spuds are done. So we'll get these off and get them drained. And then we're ready to roll. What else is left to do then, Dan?
Literally just drain them off. Take the beef stew out of the oven. Take the lid off it. Give it a stir and just check the consistency of it. And you can always thicken the beef stew with a little bit of gravy granules if you want to, but you shouldn't need to. Classically, you don't, but you know, it depends on personal preference. If it's a bit runny, you think, or whatever, you can thicken it. All you need to do with these potatoes is drain them off, take the roasted garlic out of the oven, and the roasted garlic will just puree itself. So you're just going to mash that with the potatoes, the 100 grams of butter, and a bit of table salt.
Wow, it smells tremendous in here.
So let's have a look at that then.
Whoa, look at that.
Is there plenty of sauce in there?
Yeah, there is.
So if it looks like it's cooked out a bit too much, you can add a bit of liquid to it.
I don't think it is at all.
No?
No.
It's hard to see from here, you know?
What?
It's hard to see from here.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell how it looks, you know?
Listen, I know what I'm doing here now. Am I convincing you?
Aye, a little bit. I can't taste it though.
Right.
Right, so you've got the roasted garlic there. You just need to add the roasted garlic into that pan with the mash. Chuck the 100 grams of butter.
The garlic's got its skin and stuff still on.
Just pop it out. If it's been roasted, it should just pop straight out. Just squeeze the end of it. It'll burn your fingers a bit like.
No.
So you got 4 cloves there, is that right?
Yeah, you nearly got the first swear word out of me, like.
Right. Well, once you've added that in, you add the 100 grams of butter to the to the potato, and just mash that up. And 100 grams of butter seems like a lot, but if you're making mash, you can actually hold the same weight of butter as you can potato, and it'll hold. It's not healthy, you know, but it will hold. But this is nowhere near that. This is 100 grams to whatever potatoes you've got in there. I think it's 4 whole potatoes you used, isn't it?
Right, Dan, I'm worried about this garlic. So, is it the squishy stuff inside I need to get out?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Aye, that's it.
Because the outside it's pretty crispy.
Aye, it should just squeeze out of it. It's just the stuff inside that you need. How long did you put it in for? 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Can maybe go for 10 minutes if the oven's too high. I usually go for 10-15 minutes. Like.
This came out. Okay. Okay, so I've lost the feeling on my fingertips now.
Right, that's good now. Right, so you just need to add that butter to that. And then you should have some chopped parsley somewhere.
Yeah.
Aye, that just goes into the beef stew.
No.
Last minute, so you can charge chuck it in now. I go for it. I just get that stir in.
Why does that get added at the last minute then?
If you're using dry herbs or hard herbs, say like thyme or rosemary, things that have got a tough stalk, you add them at the beginning of cooking because they infuse things while they're cooking. But say fresh herbs like that, you've got to add them last minute because it's such a fresh flavour and they're so delicate. You know, something like that, coriander, basil, or you got to add that last minute. The flavour will just be gone if you had to cook that for a few hours. You know. So when you've mashed that, you can always add a little bit of cold milk at the end if you want. I mean, I don't personally, but some people like to add milk to it, you know.
What about the mustard?
The mustard?
Yeah, the mustard.
You can put that in the stew now. You can put that in the stew now. So that's, I mean, anything like that, anything that doesn't need cooked, if you miss it, it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to cover up the mistake, like.
Yeah, I know, I thought that.
So is that nice and saucy, is it?
Oh, it's lovely, mate. It really, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It looks tremendous.
Right.
The beef looks nice and it's all broken down.
That's nice braised.
Yeah.
Right, that should do you for the mash now. It doesn't have to be so smooth. It could just be rustic, you know. It's not supposed to be, you know, don't be too precious with it. If you just take a wooden spoon.
So just so everybody knows, when Dan says rustic, what I hear is rough as, yeah.
Exactly, aye. Just elbow droppers.
Okay, so what we're doing?
Just make it rustic. I'll just put a nice spoon of that in the middle of the plate. And make a well in that with the back of the spoon. And then just stir the stew onto it. Just put like a nice good spoonfuls over the top of that. And check that for the seasoning at the end. Obviously, everybody should do that at the end of cooking. Just check the seasoning, make sure it's right. If you want to add more salt, you can. If you don't want it, that's fine. You shouldn't need to be honest.
You happy with that, chef?
It looks good. It looks good.
Look at that, even bees around it.
Well, yeah, that's spot on. It's spot on. It looks right.
I'll tell you what, I've got absolutely no idea how it's going to taste.
No.
But if it tastes anything like it smells, I'm a winner.
That's the red wine, garlic, thyme, stuff like that. You know, when you braise that in the oven, it's the best way to cook anything. So any cheap cut of meat, slowly braise it. It's like we do with the pork belly in the restaurant. It's just the same, slow cooking.
Well, you know, a dish that I've heard about before but never made before. Wouldn't know where to start. I thought it'd be quite, not technical, not that it was easy, but I thought it'd be a bit harder than that. But you're right, it's basically a stew with mashed potatoes. But
yeah, exactly.
It seems to be, it smells like there's a lot of flavour in there.
Yeah, it's the red wine, man. It's amazing. Honestly, really good.
Okay, good. Well, again, I'll say it again. If I can do it, you can do it too. So I hope it all turned out well for you if you've tried it and enjoy eating it. So again, thanks very much for using Caboose Fresh, and we'll see you next time. And thanks again to Dan.
Thanks very much, man. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers now. See you.